The grand ballroom of the Kingston mansion was glowing with gold lights, shining like a world where only the rich were allowed to breathe. Expensive perfume floated in the air. Diamonds flashed. Laughter echoed. But in the corner, behind a silver pillar, stood Maya, the black maid everyone ignored. Until tonight, nobody knew the storm waiting inside her, the rich ladies whispered whenever she passed. She is just a maid. She should stay behind the line. She cannot even spell waltz. How will she clean this floor? Maya kept her head down. But inside, her heart carried a fire that came from years of hidden training. From dancing in tiny kitchens, from copying steps off old videos. She never told anyone she was once the top dancer in her school. Before life pushed her into cleaning jobs, tonight was the millionaire's son's birthday, Ethan Kingston. The golden boy, handsome, gentle, but trapped in his family's shadow. Everyone expected him to choose a partner from the elite girls. They danced like feathers but had hearts like cold stone. Ethan secretly watched Maya sometimes. Not because she was a maid, but because she moved with a natural grace. Even when she carried trays, her steps were soft, controlled, elegant. He noticed. No one else did. Then suddenly, bang! The music stopped. Mrs. Kingston, the powerful millionaire woman of the house, stood on the stage holding a shining mic. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said loudly, "before the final dance, I have an announcement. A challenge." The crowd leaned closer. She looked toward Maya with a sharp smile. "If this maid, this black girl, can dance the waltz better than the ladies here, I will make her something she never dreamed of." People laughed. Some clapped. They thought it was a joke. Mrs. Kingston continued, "But if she fails, she leaves this mansion forever." Gasps spread. Maya froze. Her hands shook. She wished she could hide. But Mrs. Kingston didn't stop. And she added with a wicked grin, "If she wins, she will marry my son." The entire ballroom exploded. "What? Marry Ethan? Impossible. She's a maid. She's nothing. This is insane." Maya felt her knees weaken. Ethan stepped forward, shocked. "Mother, that's enough." "No," she cut him off. "Let us see some entertainment." She turned to Maya. "You love moving around the house, don't you? Let's see you move on the floor." People laughed again. Maya's heart pounded so hard, she thought the whole room could hear it. She looked down at her rough shoes, her simple uniform, her trembling fingers. She didn't belong here. She wasn't supposed to face the rich like this, but then she remembered something, her grandmother's voice. "Child, some dances choose you. And when life challenges you, step forward. Don't step back." The ballroom lights dimmed. A soft waltz rhythm started slow, elegant, full of pressure. Maya took a deep breath. She stepped onto the dance floor. The crowd went silent. Ethan watched her with wide eyes. He felt something shift in the air, like an old secret breaking free. The first note hit. Maya moved. Not like a maid, not like someone scared, but like someone born from music. Her steps were smooth. Her turns perfect, her timing sharp like the edge of a blade. Her body floated through the air with a rhythm that stunned everyone. She wasn't dancing for the rich. She was dancing for herself, for the girl who once dreamed. Whispers turned into shock. "Is this real? She dances better than us. She is incredible." Mrs. Kingston's smile dropped. Ethan stepped closer to the edge of the dance floor, unable to breathe. It was like seeing a hidden star suddenly rise. Maya's final spin ended with the entire room speechless. And then the real danger arrived. A voice from the back shouted, "She cheated. No maid dances like that." The crowd roared. Mrs. Kingston lifted her chin. "This is not over. If she wants to win, she will face the real challenge next." Maya swallowed hard. because she knew what was coming. And it was far more dangerous than just a waltz. The ballroom did not return to normal after Maya's dance. It felt like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Every pair of eyes stayed locked on the black maid who had just shocked a millionaire family and embarrassed every rich girl in the room. But Mrs. Kingston wasn't a woman who accepted defeat. Especially not from a maid. She slowly walked toward Maya, heels clicking like small explosions against the marble floor. Her cold smile returned. "So you can dance a simple waltz," she said softly, but her voice cut like ice. "But anyone can copy steps." The crowd murmured in agreement. Mrs. Kingston raised her chin. "To truly win, you must beat someone who was trained, someone who was born rich, someone who has danced on bigger stages than your whole world." Then she snapped her fingers. A spotlight flashed. Out stepped Victoria Hale, the city's famous ballroom dancer, glowing in a red dress that sparkled like fire. She bowed gracefully, but her eyes burned with pride and jealousy. Everyone gasped. "Victoria? She won national competitions. Maya is finished." Maya felt her throat tighten. She knew this woman Victoria's videos were the same ones Maya secretly watched and copied in her tiny kitchen at night. Victoria was everything Maya dreamed to be, but never could. Victoria glided toward Maya with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "So you're the maid," she whispered. "Cute performance. But don't worry. I'll end this quickly." The crowd laughed cruelly. Ethan couldn't stand it anymore. He stepped forward. "This isn't fair. Mother, stop this." But Mrs. Kingston placed a hand in the air. "You are my son, but you do not control my house. If the maid wants to stay, she must prove she deserves it." Maya looked around the room. Every face screamed the same message: lose, leave, disappear. For a moment, fear grabbed her chest. She could walk away and save herself from more humiliation. She could return to cleaning floors, pretending she never touched the stage. But then she looked at Ethan. He wasn't looking at her like a maid. He was looking at her like someone who mattered. And for the first time in her life, she felt seen. Maya straightened her back. "I'll do it," she said. A wave of shock rolled through the ballroom. Mrs. Kingston clapped slowly. "Excellent. Let the real performance begin." The CHALENG2 circles of guests formed around Maya and Victoria, turning the ballroom into an arena. The chandelier lights lowered until the spotlight shined only on the two dancers. The music began faster, sharper, filled with energy. Victoria moved first. Her steps were powerful, practiced, arrogant. Her red dress sliced the air with perfect precision. The crowd oohed and ahed, cheering her every turn. Maya stood still, heart pounding, waiting for her moment. Victoria finished her opening with a dramatic spin, ending in a pose that soaked the applause like rain. Then the room waited. Maya inhaled. She stepped forward. No fancy dress, no jewels, no training academy. Only rhythm in her bones and a fire in her blood. She moved slow at first, smooth like water. Then suddenly, she broke into a speed and style that left the room stunned. Her feet wrote stories across the floor. Her arms painted emotion in the air. She wasn't copying Victoria. She was becoming herself, a new version of Maya, brave, bold, unafraid. People gasped. Where did she learn that? She's better than Victoria. This can't be real. Victoria's smile faded. Sweat formed on her forehead. She tried to match Maya's style, but her steps felt mechanical next to Maya's natural flow. For the first time in her career, Victoria looked scared. Maya finished with a powerful spin, stopping exactly at the beat drop. The room fell silent. Even the music seemed shocked. Then someone clapped. Then another. And suddenly, the whole ballroom erupted. Victoria's face cracked with disbelief. But Mrs. Kingston, She smiled a dangerous smile, because instead of announcing the winner, she raised a hand and said, "This challenge is not over. The real test begins now." Maya's heartbeat shook her chest, and everyone leaned in, because nobody knew what Mrs. Kingston was planning next. The ballroom was no longer a celebration hall. It had turned into a battlefield. Maya stood in the center, chest rising and falling, her simple maid uniform sticking to her skin. The applause from her dance still rang in the air, but the joy did not reach her. Because Mrs. Kingston wasn't smiling in defeat. She was smiling like a hunter who had found a better trap. She stepped forward slowly, her heels echoing like a countdown. "Impressive," she said. "Very impressive for a girl who cleans floors." The audience laughed with her. Maya felt the sting but didn't break eye contact. Mrs. Kingston tilted her head. "But talent alone isn't enough to step into my family. You danced well, Maid. But do you understand what it means to enter our world?" She lifted a finger. 2 guards rolled in a velvet-covered box, long, heavy, and mysterious. Everyone whispered, trying to guess what was inside. Then the cloth came off. Inside were 3 pairs of dance shoes, each one glowing under the lights like a weapon. The first pair silver heels sharp like blades. The second pair old ballroom shoes covered in dust. The third pair barefoot straps used by street performers. Mrs. Kingston's voice dropped low. "Pick one. Each pair represents a test. You pass all 3. You win. You fail even one. You leave this mansion forever." The crowd gasped. 3 tests. This is too much. She'd break her ankles. Victoria crossed her arms with a smirk. She liked this game. Ethan, however, looked furious. "Mother, this isn't a competition. This is torture." His words didn't move her. "This is my house, Ethan, and you will not marry a maid." Maya closed her eyes for a second. She felt the weight of the room pressing against her. Every corner of her past tried to pull her back, every humiliation, every insult, every night she told herself she wasn't enough. But tonight, she wasn't that broken girl anymore. She was the girl who stunned an entire ballroom. She stepped forward and looked at the shoes. The guests whispered, "She'll pick the easy one. She'll pick the dusted shoes, they look harmless." She's scared. Look at her hands shaking. Maya's hands were shaking. But not from fear, from a fire that refused to burn out. She reached out, slowly, and chose the pair everyone feared most. The silver heels. Gasps exploded through the room. The silver heels were known in the dance world sharp, slippery, and painful. One wrong step could twist an ankle. They required absolute control, or total disaster. Victoria's eyebrows shot up. Even she didn't dare dance in those. Mrs. Kingston's smile widened. "Bold choice, Maid. Let us see if your bravery lasts." The first real Tias music started, dark, sharp, full of quick turns. Maya stepped into the silver heels. The pain hit immediately, stabbing up her legs. But she didn't flinch. She took her position in the center of the ballroom. Mrs. Kingston announced loudly, "You will perform the knife waltz, fast spins, close steps, high risk. You fall once. You fail." Victoria whispered to her friend, "She won't last 10 seconds. Maya closed her eyes. She imagined the small kitchen where she practiced barefoot, the broken tiles she used as markers, the old phone she balanced on a cup to watch videos. She remembered her grandmother tapping her foot to the music, humming softly behind her. She breathed in. The music exploded. Maya moved. Her first step was shaky. The second almost slipped. The crowd leaned forward, waiting for her to fall. But then something happened. Her body found the rhythm. Her fear melted. Her pain turned into power. She spun once clean, then twice faster, then a third time sharp enough to slice the air. The silver heels flashed like lightning. People stared with open mouths. "That's impossible. She's controlling the shoes." She's actually doing it. Mrs. Kingston's face tightened. Victoria bit her lip. Ethan whispered, "Come on, Maya. Show them." Maya hit the final pose with a sharp swing of her dress. The room exploded into applause, louder, stronger. Shocked beyond belief, she had passed the first test, but Mrs. Kingston slowly lifted her hand. Silencing the crowd, her voice dropped, cold and dangerous. "Very well. You survived the first. Now prepare for the test that has broken dancers far better than you." She pointed toward the dusty old shoes. "The shadow dance awaits." Maya swallowed hard, because she knew this dance. And she knew exactly why dancers feared it. The applause faded slowly, like the sound was afraid to stay in the same room as Mrs. Kingston's rage. Maya stood in the center of the ballroom, breath shaking but eyes fierce. The silver heels had cut her feet, tiny drops of blood hidden beneath the shine. But she didn't step back. She didn't dare, because Mrs. Kingston wasn't finished. Not even close. The millionaire woman lifted her hand toward the dusty old ballroom shoes, the second pair. The shoes looked harmless, but the room suddenly felt colder, as if every chandelier light dimmed at once. Whispers spread. The shadow dance. Does she even know it? People quit dancing after trying that routine. This will end her. Victoria smirked, leaning slightly toward her mother's friend. She won't survive this. Nobody dances the shadow routine without years of training. Ethan clenched his fists, anger tight in his jaw. This is too much. "Mother, stop this now." Mrs. Kingston didn't even look at him. "Silence." Then she pointed at Maya. "Pick up the shoes." Maya stared at them. They were old, cracked, almost broken, like they belonged to memories nobody wanted to keep. She stepped forward slowly, her heartbeat pounding like a drum inside her chest. The moment she touched the shoes, a hush fell over the room. These were not shoes meant for beauty. Not for elegance. Not for show. These were shoes meant for pain. The shadow dance begins. Maya slipped them on. They felt strangely heavy, as if they carried someone else's past. But she stood tall, her chin lifted, refusing to show fear. Mrs. Kingston's cold voice filled the room. The shadow dance tests control, memory, and speed. One wrong step, and the dancer collapses. Victoria added in a fake sweet tone, "Good luck, Maid. Try not to fall too soon." Maya didn't answer. She simply breathed. The lights shifted. Spotlights turned dim. The ballroom floor changed from gold to gray. A single violin note sliced through the silence, slow, haunting. The dance had begun. Maya stepped forward. The first movement was smooth, almost silent. Then the music jumped sharp, unpredictable. Her body reacted instantly, shifting from slow to fast, left to right, up to down. The shadow dance demanded absolute memory. It was a sequence of sudden changes: spin, stop, bow, twist. Miss one, and the entire routine collapsed. The crowd watched in shocked silence. Maya's feet glided, then snapped, then floated again. Every movement was controlled, but inside, her heart raced like a storm. Sweat clung to her forehead. Her breaths grew short, but she did not stop. She remembered watching this dance once late at night on a stolen Wi-Fi signal, her old phone buffering every few seconds. She had rewound the video again and again, copying the steps alone in her small kitchen while pots boiled beside her. Now she danced it on the biggest stage of her life, and she did not miss a beat. The violin climbed higher, faster, more dangerous. Victoria leaned forward, disbelief finally touching her flawless face. How was she still standing? Ethan felt a spark of pride in his chest he couldn't hide. She's not just standing. She's winning. Mrs. Kingston's lips tightened. She hated what she was seeing. Maya reached the hardest part, the blind spin, a full turn. But she had to land facing the exact direction of the final beat. Even trained dancers fell here. The music dropped into silence. Maya spun. Once, twice, 3 times fast enough that her vision blurred. The crowd held its breath. Her foot slid. Her ankle wobbled, but she pushed through, chest tight. Jaw clenched and landed perfectly on the final note. The room exploded. People rose to their feet. Some cheered. Some screamed. Even the orchestra conductor looked amazed. Victoria stepped back, face pale. She actually finished it. Maya stood still, breath shaking, sweat rolling down her neck, but she was standing. She had passed the second test, but before she could breathe, Mrs. Kingston raised her hand again. Silence hit the room instantly. Her voice was calm. Too calm. Very well, Maid. You passed the second test. She pointed to the last pair, the simple street dancer straps. But the final test is the one no one ever survives. The crowd gasped. The bare rhythm trial, Mrs. Kingston finished. No music. No partner. No rules, just you. Against the room. Maya felt her chest tighten, because this test wasn't about dance anymore. This was about breaking her spirit. The ballroom felt different now. Not loud. Not cruel. Just waiting. Waiting to see if the maid would finally break. Maya stood in the center. Sweat sliding down her jawline, old pain in her legs, fresh courage in her eyes. She had survived 2 impossible challenges, 2 traps meant to crush her. And still, she stood tall. But Mrs. Kingston was not a woman who allowed hope to live for long. She stared at Maya like she was studying an insect. Then she pointed toward the last pair, the barefoot straps. Black, simple, silent. This, she announced, is the final test. The bare rhythm trial. Gasps rippled through the room. No music? That means she has to control the whole rhythm alone. She will fail. Nobody survives this. Victoria stepped forward, fake innocence dripping from her voice. Oh dear, this trial is all about soul. You have won, right? The crowd chuckled. Ethan stepped protectively beside Maya. Mother enough. This is no longer a dance test. You're humiliating her. Mrs. Kingston didn't even blink. Humiliation is what happens when someone tries to rise above their place. Maya's fists tightened. She had lived a whole life being told to know her place, know where she belonged, where she didn't, what she deserved, and what she shouldn't even dream of. But tonight, she wouldn't step back. She slipped her feet into the barefoot straps. They felt cold against her skin, like the ground itself was testing her. The lights dimmed. The music stopped. Even the air seemed to go silent. Mrs. Kingston's voice floated across the room like poison. In the bare rhythm trial, you must create your own dance with no guidance. Your own music. Your own heartbeat as the only instrument. Victoria smirked. She won't last 2 steps. But Ethan looked at Maya with something different. Something warm. Something proud. Maya, he said in a whisper only she heard. You don't have to prove anything to them. You already won. Maya met his eyes. I'm not dancing for them, she whispered back. I'm dancing for me. The final test begins. Maya stepped forward, closing her eyes. The room watched, breathless. For a moment, everything was still. Then tap. A soft, gentle tap of her foot against the floor. Small, but steady. Another tap. A slide, a shift of her hips. A slow sway of her arms. Her body began to move in silence. But it wasn't empty silence, it was alive. Full of story, full of memory. Her rhythm grew stronger. Shaped by years of hidden dancing. Breaking into small motions in tiny kitchens. Moving quietly in hallways so no one would hear her dance at work. Feeling music inside her bones even when there was no music around her. The crowd leaned forward. Her feet tapped the pattern soft, then sharp, then soft again. Her heartbeat became the drum. Her breath became the melody. Her body became the instrument, and slowly, the ballroom began to feel the rhythm. People started nodding their heads without realizing. Some tapped their fingers. Some whispered in awe, "She's creating the beat. She's controlling the entire room. This girl, she has soul." Victoria's smile died. She's not supposed to be this good. Mrs. Kingston's face tightened, but she stayed silent. Maya moved faster now, arms flowing, feet tapping in unpredictable patterns, spins that echoed like wind, pauses that sent chills across the room. Her dance wasn't elegant like a trained ballerina. It wasn't polished like Victoria's perfect competition style. It was raw, real, human, a dance of survival, a dance of someone who refused to stay unseen. The rhythm grew stronger, so strong, that people started clapping along, echoing her steps like she was leading an army. Even the chandeliers seemed to glow brighter. Maya finished with a slow, powerful stomp, one single sound that echoed louder than any orchestra. Silence followed, not the silence of doubt, but the silence of shock. Then boom. Applause exploded so loudly it shook the floor. People stood. People shouted her name. Even the band members clapped in disbelief. Victoria stepped back, jaw trembling. Ethan's eyes shined with something like awe. But Mrs. Kingston, she lifted her hand. The applause died. Instantly, her voice cut through the room like a blade. "Skill means nothing," she said, because this wasn't just a dance trial. The crowd froze. Mrs. Kingston's eyes narrowed at Maya. This was a test of loyalty, strength, and obedience, and now we moved to the final judgment. Maya's breath caught, because in that moment, she realized the real challenge was never about the dances. It was about the truth Mrs. Kingston was about to reveal, a truth that could change everything. The applause faded like a candle burning out. The ballroom lights dimmed until only Maya stood glowing in the center, sweat on her skin, fear in her breath, fire in her eyes. She had survived the impossible. 3 tests meant to break her. 3 traps disguised as challenges. But Mrs. Kingston wasn't celebrating. She smiled cold, sharp, dangerous. "This," she said slowly, "was never about dance." The entire room leaned in. Maya's heart thumped painfully. Ethan took a step closer to her, ready to protect. Mrs. Kingston raised her chin like a queen delivering a verdict. This was a test of worth. Because the person you're trying to replace, she paused, letting the silence tighten around Maya's throat, was chosen long ago. Whispers exploded. Chosen? Who? What is she talking about? Victoria stepped forward, eyes shining with cruel satisfaction. "Oh, everyone knows. Except the maid." Ethan's jaw clenched. "Mother, don't do this." But Mrs. Kingston's voice boomed louder. "Victoria," she said proudly, "was supposed to be Ethan's future partner. Trained, polished, rich, perfect." Gasps filled the room. Victoria smiled sweetly at Ethan. "I was promised the role. The partnership, the future." Maya felt something heavy twist inside her chest. Mrs. Kingston turned to her again. You are nothing but a temporary shadow, a servant who forgot her place." The words were sharp enough to wound. But Maya did not lower her eyes. "Not anymore," she whispered. "Then why challenge me at all?" Mrs. Kingston stepped closer. "So I could break you in front of everyone." Her voice trembled with hatred. "You humiliated my guests. You embarrassed my dancers. And you made my son look at you like—" She stopped, fury shaking her. "Like you matter." The room froze. Maya's breath caught. Ethan looked down, unable to deny it. Mrs. Kingston continued. "I wanted the world to see you fail, to watch you crumble so badly that even the dust of your dreams disappears." But Maya didn't crumble. She stood straighter. For the first time, the guests shifted uncomfortably. Some looked ashamed. Some looked impressed. Some looked convinced she deserved better. Mrs. Kingston noticed the shift, and she panicked. So she played her final card. She lifted her voice, loud and theatrical. Let the final judgment begin. The vote. The ballroom gasped. Victoria's eyes widened. A vote? Mother, that's Mrs. Kingston ignored her. Everyone in this room will decide if Maya stays in this mansion or leaves tonight and never steps foot in this world again. Shock, chaos, whispers, murmurs. Ethan stepped in front of Maya. You cannot turn human dignity into a vote. Mrs. Kingston's eyes flashed. This is my house. And this, Ethan said sharply, is cruelty. Maya touched his arm gently. It's okay. It's not, he whispered, but she stepped forward anyway. Her voice was soft, but clear. If these people want to judge me, that I won't hide. A wave of respect washed through the crowd. Mrs. Kingston raised her hand. Those who believe the maid should leave, raise your hands. Hands shot up instantly. Rich women, elite dancers. Men who never looked at Maya before. People who viewed her as furniture, not human. Maya felt her stomach twist. But then something unexpected happened. A guard lowered his hand. A chef didn't raise his. Several musicians kept their hands down. A few guests, mostly young, shook their heads. The room wasn't fully hers, but it wasn't fully against her either. Mrs. Kingston's face hardened. Those who vote she stays? Silence. Then one hand rose. Ethan's, then another. A young girl standing near the stage. Then another. A dancer who looked ashamed of how she treated Maya, then two more. Then five more. Hands rose slowly, hesitant, afraid of Mrs. Kingston's wrath, but they rose. Until the room seemed evenly split. Mrs. Kingston glared furiously. A tie, she hissed. Victoria stepped forward. Then let my vote break it. She paused dramatically, looking Maya up and down. Everyone watched. Mother is right, Victoria said softly. People like her do not belong in places like this. Maya felt the words cut deep, but Victoria wasn't finished. But people like you, she added loudly, turning to Mrs. Kingston, don't deserve to choose the future. Gasps erupted. Victoria turned to the crowd. My vote is for Maya. The entire ballroom erupted in shock. Mrs. Kingston staggered back, eyes wide. Maya's heart raced. Ethan whispered, why would she do that? Victoria smiled a small, honest smile. Because I didn't lose to a maid, she said. I lost to someone stronger than all of us. Mrs. Kingston screamed, this vote is invalid. But a voice cut through the chaos. A voice none expected. You don't get to decide that. Everyone turned. It was Mr. Kingston, the silent millionaire father who never interfered, until now. The ballroom was silent. Every guest stood frozen as Maya and Adrian walked toward the center floor. The golden lights of the chandelier danced across Maya's face, making her look like she belonged there all along, not as a maid, but as someone meant to shine. Eleanor, Adrian's mother, watched with tight lips. She still believed the night would end the way she wanted. Maya embarrassed, Adrian forced to choose status over love. But deep in her eyes, a nervous spark had already started. Maya stepped onto the dance floor. Her palms were cold, but her heart was burning. She had danced in competitions across the city, but never with the weight of her own dignity on the line. Never with a future hanging by a thread. Adrian leaned in and whispered, just breathe. Dance with me. Forget them, she nodded. The music started slow, heavy, full of emotion. A waltz built not for beauty, but for truth. And they began. From the first step, the crowd felt it. Their movements were smooth, controlled, and powerful. Maya's body remembered every rhythm she had ever practiced late at night after her cleaning shifts. Her feet moved like she was floating, but her eyes stayed locked on Adrian's. The room faded away. It was just the two of them, spinning in a world where class, money, and rules did not matter. Whispers rose through the hall. Is she really just a maid? She dances better than the professionals. This is unbelievable. Eleanor's expression cracked. The confidence she held earlier slowly broke into disbelief. She could not deny what she was seeing. Maya wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was simply herself. And that was more powerful than any family name. Adrian lifted Maya into a smooth spin, and she landed gracefully, drawing gasps from the crowd. Someone even clapped. Then another, then more. By the middle of the dance, half the room was cheering. Maya had not won over everyone, but she had won over enough. The waltz slowed. They ended with a gentle dip, Maya's hand resting on Adrian's shoulder, his arm wrapped firmly and proudly around her. When they rose, the room exploded in applause. Everyone stood. Everyone except Eleanor. Her face was pale. Her plan had failed, not because Maya outdanced the others, but because Adrian now saw his mother clearly. He understood what she had tried to do, and he was done letting her control him. He stepped forward, holding Maya's hand. "Mother," he said softly but firmly, "I am choosing my future, and she is part of it." A hush fell again. Eleanor opened her mouth, but no words came. For the first time, she had no power in the room. The people she invited, the people she tried to impress, they were now judging her. A millionaire embarrassed by her own pride. Maya felt Adrian's grip tighten. She squeezed back. Somewhere inside her, the girl who had been mocked, underestimated, and insulted finally stood tall. Her voice steady, she said, "I never wanted to take anything from you. I only wanted respect." Something shifted in Eleanor's eyes. Maybe guilt, maybe realization, maybe the truth finally sinking in. She looked away and whispered, "I was wrong." But Maya did not wait for approval. She did not need it anymore. The host approached the couple with a bright smile. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "tonight's best waltz goes to Maya Reed." Cheers returned louder, fuller, real. Adrian hugged her, whispering, "You showed them who you are." And Maya smiled. "No," she said gently, "I showed myself." When they walked out of the ballroom together, the night air felt different, brighter, freer. Maya was no longer the maid who danced in the shadows.